guys, welcome back to The Bright Side. Macy here, The Bright Side Girl, and today we're going to be doing my Christmas book to movie adaptations video. So this is going to be a pretty big list of Christmas / holiday wintry themed books that have been turned into movies. I'm really excited. I've been wanting to do this video for a couple years now, and I finally got caught up on all the books that I needed to read. So we're just gonna dive right in. If I remember, I will also link where you can get all of these movies down below in the comments, whether it's Netflix or Hulu or Tubi or HBO. I'll try to find as many free ones or cheaper ones as possible so that you guys can find them easily to watch, because it's gotten a little bit complicated over the last few years. So first up, we're gonna start with kind of an obvious one, and that would be The Christmas Carol. Of course, is one of the most classic, beloved Christmassy novels ever. If you haven't read this, I highly recommend it, even though it's very old. It's so good, and the audio is really good, and it just puts you in the Christmas spirit. And there are so many different retellings of this. My personal favorite is A Muppets Christmas Carol. Fun and cheesy, but also like really heartwarming and will totally make you cry, and the music's incredible. So that's my personal favorite. I think in the future I will do a video of all of the different retellings I've read and movies that I've watched for The Christmas Carol, but I wanted to recommend it in here because it's such a classic. Following another classic, and that is The Nutcracker, E.T.A. Hoffman. This is the Maurice Sendak illustrated version. I actually had never read The Nutcracker, which I believe is based on the ballet. I believe the ballet was first. I had never read it until like a couple years ago, and it's one of my all-time favorite Christmas stories. I've seen the Nutcracker ballet when I was younger. I used to collect nutcrackers. I still kind of collect really nice ones now, but I'm a little bit pickier. But I just think this is such a classic. Toys coming to life at Christmas is just magical and fantastical. The Sugar Plum Fairy and everything is so amazing. So I highly recommend reading this or listening to the audio. I really like this particular version of it, but another good classic to get in. There are only two movies that I know of. There's the actual ballet, which has Macaulay Culkin in it, which is fantastic. And then there's also Nutcracker in the Four Realms, which we're going to talk about next. Alright, so now we have Nutcracker in the Four Realms, and this is actually the novelization of the movie, so you can watch them in whatever order you want. The movie is a retelling of the Nutcracker. It's expanded upon, the world is broadened. I really enjoy the movie. It is so beautiful, and the Christmas party Clara attends at Drosselmeyer's house, we all gotta go. So I haven't loved Disney novels. I personally really love Disney. I haven't had a great relationship with a lot of the books that they've put out, and novelizations that are based on movies aren't always good, but this one was so good, and it's extended. So you get the full story of Nutcracker in the Four Realms, but you also get a background about the realms and Clara's mother, and it has beautiful illustrations in it, and it was just so lovely. I gave this 4 stars. So you can read or watch first with this one because the movie did come out first technically, but highly recommend. It's a great retelling. Another classic is Miracle on 34th Street. This is interesting because the screenplay and the book were written at the same time. So for those of you that like to read the book before the movie or vice versa, you can do whichever you want with this. The Miracle on 34th Street, the 90s version, is one of my all-time favorites. It's like up there in my top 5 favorite Christmas movies. It makes me cry every time. I need a big I believe pin for my chest. It's so good. And the book is very close to the movie because they were written at the same time. So if you enjoyed the movie, you'll enjoy the book and vice versa. I will say that this is adult. It's not a kid's book, and it does have a little bit more of adult themes in the book because they talk a little bit more in depth about divorce and kind of sadness and stuff like that, but it was still really good and charming. It's actually set at Macy's because they didn't have to get the rights for it the way they did for the movie. So it's set at the department store. There's this department store Santa that gets hired that believes he is the real Santa, and he kind of is trying to convince the woman that hired him, who has been divorced and is a little bit on the bitter side, has taught her daughter that Santa isn't real. He's kind of trying to convince them that Santa's real, and he's also doing his job as a department store Santa, and It's just so good. If you haven't watched the movie, the original movie that's in black and white is also really good, but the 90s version, man, there are so many good movies. It's so great, and I really enjoyed this book, and I just had to have it. Then our last classic is, of course, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. If you haven't read this book, I'm not sure where you've been. It is just a children's picture book of how the Grinch stole Christmas. It's fabulous. It's Dr. Seuss. The cartoon movie is fantastic. The Jim Carrey movie is fantastic. And the Ed Helms movie is also fantastic, although it's very different than the original. So go into it kind of letting it be a little bit of its own thing. I like all of them. The Jim Carrey version the best, but this is a good one to add to the list, especially for kids. All right, next up, this is almost on the classic list as well, is Skipping Christmas by John Grisham. This is the only John Grisham novel I've ever read. So this is what inspired the movie Christmas with the Cranks, which is one of my favorite movies ever. It has Tim Allen in it. So funny, so charming. I'm actually going to be making a Christmas caramel cream pie, which they talk about over and over again in the movie. I like to make different things from movies that I haven't had before, but this is the book that inspired it. It is very, very close to the movie. They followed it almost exactly. And if you're not familiar with the story, it's basically about a man whose daughter is going off to like a military training program, and he decides that instead of spending all the normal money that he does on Christmas presents, donations, and everything, that everything is going to go towards him and his wife going on a cruise. But because of that, he's also decided to cut anything Christmas off. Like, he doesn't want to hear Christmas songs. He doesn't want Christmas carolers coming. He's not going to participate in the neighborhood light show. He goes full anti-Christmas. And it's just really fun and wacky as people try to get him kind of back in the Christmas spirit, and things kind of just go chaotic. I love the movie. I love the book. Then we have Dash and Lily's Book of Dares. I talk about this one so much on my channel. So this is set in New York in Christmas time at the, I believe, the Powell bookstore, the huge bookstore in New York. And our main character Lily leaves a notebook with some questions and like a scavenger hunt type thing, and Dash finds it and he fills it out, and they basically correspond back and forth through this red notebook, and it's very Christmassy and wintry and romantic and charming. And then Netflix did a TV show based on this first book. I'm very sad because they were trying to do the second book as a second season, and it never happened, but they did such a good job with the show. I love it. I'm actually getting ready to rewatch it soon, and we don't get very many Christmas TV shows, so if you're in a romantic, young adult, Christmassy mood, I highly recommend. Alright, next is one that I actually haven't seen yet. It's the only one. So this is book 1, Nicholas St. North and the Battle of the Nightmare King. So this is before Santa was Santa. He was like a daredevil swordsman and a warrior and a ruffian, and you follow kind of his life and how he became Santa, and it's got all this magical, fantastical elements. This is a full series that has like the Easter Bunny and a couple other holidays, and the movie is called Rise of the Guardians. I don't know if the movie is going to be just about this book or if it's about all of them. Watch that really soon. It's just got lots of fun, quirky fantasy elements, which we don't get a lot of with Christmas tales, especially in book form. So I do want to watch that soon. I thought I'd recommend it here, just in case you guys want to check it out. Okay, and then the next books I don't actually own, so we're just going to put the pictures up here. So we have Let It Snow by Maureen Johnson, John Green, and I can't remember the other author, but she'll be in the photo. I have mixed feelings on this book. It's 3 stories all about people getting kind of like snowed in and plans changing around Christmas, and all the stories kind of tie in together. There are parts of this that are a little bit overly young adult, a little bit overly angsty. There's some annoying cheerleaders. I think it is worth a shot. A lot of people have this on their favorites list. I do think I've read it 2 or 3 times at this point, so I guess I like it. The movie personally for me was not my favorite. I didn't like it as much as all these other adaptations, but I thought I'd mention it again. I know a lot of other people like it. They just didn't follow the book super closely, and then it just didn't quite work for me heartstring emotional wise that I wanted it to, but you can definitely check it out if you want to get some more book to movie adaptations. But definitely check it out if you're interested. Another one that I actually don't own is The Polar Express, and it has been so long since I have seen the movie, and I'm not sure if I've ever read the book. I know this has a lot of people's hearts. There's like a magical train at Christmas time, and it's just been so long that I'm not super familiar with the story, but I had to include it in here because it's a classic, and I will be refreshing myself here very soon because I don't think Jeff knows anything about it either, my husband. So Polar Express is a good one. Okay, next up we have kind of a weird one, and that is Anna and the Apocalypse. This one, it was written after the movie, so we're going to talk about it in that order. So this whole story is basically set at Christmas and there is a zombie apocalypse that takes place. In the movie, it is also a musical, so there's a lot of singing, there's a lot of humor, think like Zombieland, Shaun of the Dead. It is a little bit on the gory side, but it's supposed to be very humorous. The music for this blew me away. And when I first watched it last year, I remember thinking it's a little overly gory for Christmas, for my Christmas liking, but now I like kind of want to watch it again because the music was so good and it was really funny. I did read the book. The book did not go as well for me as the movie because they don't have the songs and it just didn't pull at the heartstrings the same way, and it was a novelization of the movie and I just didn't think it was written as well. Worth checking out if you like something a little bit more on the slightly spooky side, or a little bit more on like the Halloween / Christmas side. Definitely worth checking out. Even if you just get the soundtrack, I was blown away with how good the music was. And they're like trying to kill zombies with like plastic candy canes. It's great. All right, and the last one we're going to talk about is A Boy Called Christmas, which I really need to get a copy of. This is actually a trilogy or a quartet, and I'm going to read the second book here very soon. So this is basically following Santa Claus as a young boy and learning about how he becomes Santa Claus. His dad leaves him to go on like this mission, and he leaves him with like his old crazy aunt, and it's like in olden times, and he's learning about like magic, and you're just following his life. It is so good. The movie adaptation was done really well as well. Netflix did this one, and it was so magical and really well done, really high quality. The effects and everything were so pretty, and it will also kind of pull at your heartstrings. So I really have a soft spot for this one. It's a middle grade book. Highly recommend both of them. Such a great thing to add to your Christmas lists. I'm sure I've missed a couple that I will add on to next year's list, but let me know if you have watched or read any of these down below in the comments. Let me know any that I may have missed, and let me know your favorites. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I have lots more holiday videos and end of the year videos coming out, as well as beginning of the year videos that you don't want to miss. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at The Bright Side Girl for more bookish and holiday content. And thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time on The Bright Side.